With WWE looking to release NXT stars and more, this is Wrestling Up. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for November 9th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Up and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Being a veteran of pro wrestling, Chris Jericho understands more than most what it takes to be convincing on the mic and in the ring. Talking about the art of the promo, Jericho gave this explanation speaking on the Sports Media podcast. How do I do a promo? I do write them down because I need to get my thoughts in order. Sometimes it's only an hour before the show and it works great, and sometimes it doesn't work. I put my thoughts together, bullet points, and then think about it and let it sit. If you're going to tell a joke or insult, you better make sure it's good and you better commit. You can't force it just has to come to you. I hated that in WWE. I remember Vince made John Morrison use the insult of platypus dung. I'm like, John, you can't say that, no one is going to laugh. Vince wants me to say it. Say you forgot to say it. He said it, it died, whatever. You have to be confident and have your thoughts in mind, but you also have to be cognizant of things change. You have to roll with it. If you ask Wayne Gretzky how he scores, it's probably hard to explain because it's just something he does. It's always been that way for promos for me, because when I first started in 1990, I wasn't the biggest guy and I knew I wouldn't be the biggest guy, but I could have the most personality and most charisma and best character. Jericho also touched on wrestlers crossing the line from heel behavior to something that's in bad taste, mentioning MJF. People at this point know it's show business, and there's only so deep you can go. There's a line a few weeks ago MJF used about Lex Luger being in a wheelchair to Sting. I don't think that gets heat. I think it makes people feel uncomfortable and feel bad. You don't want that. There is a fine line between using real life issues and going too inside baseball where I don't know what this guy is talking about, but it doesn't feel right. To me, that is the fine line. If it's something in the universe that people know, you can use it. If it's something behind the scenes, your dad was a drunk, where did that come from? His dad was a drunk? That sucks. My dad was a drunk too, and beat the heck out of me. Hell, I don't want to watch the show anymore. That's the way I feel. I don't think it gets more heat. I think it gets reverse heat. We know it's a show. It's like watching Star Wars and they go, hey Kylo Ren, your mom had an abortion. What does that have to do with Star Wars? You can make things seem real with your intentions and the way you say things and the words you use that makes it real. You have to be careful. At the Full Gear pay-per-view, Jericho and the Inner Circle will face American Top Team and Men of the Year. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T talked about a potential bout between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. While many see this as a dream match, Booker is worried that it could be past its prime. You know what? I want to see it as well. I want to see it before it is like the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight, which was well past its prime. How long are we going to wait to see it? And when it finally happens, it was not able to live up to the expectations, as both guys were not capable of going out there and giving us what we actually wanted. Right now, I think Lesnar is capable of going out there and delivering. I know Lashley is capable of going out there and delivering. I think these two guys, Lesnar and Lashley, can go out there and have a match that is different than anybody in the card or perhaps we have ever seen. After the Shield debuted in WWE, they rose up and became one of the greatest factions. On Talk Is Jericho, Jon Moxley talked about Vince McMahon hating the masks they arrived in. I found the one old SWAT vest I had and a pair of boots and the Shield mask that we wore for big shows that Vince hated, even though we would have sold millions of them. We had these cool Sub-Zero ninja masks. We busted them out for WrestleMania. The next night, Vince was furious. We can't see your faces. Get rid of the masks. The merchandise guys were mortified. They were already coming up with designs. We were going to sell millions of these. No, you can't see their faces. We did it in Australia again just to piss them off. We didn't tell them. They got pissed again. They hated those masks. With the recent release of Karrion Kross, Dave Meltzer noted WWE did not like the gimmick that was given to him, and he was pulled from programming. He had been quietly taken off TV, whatever it was, a week or two ago. After the last time we saw him on TV, Vince McMahon made the call that we're going to take him off TV. You know, where he's doing that demolition helmet deal that was stupid. He said, this isn't working. We need to take him off TV. We need to take him off. Same with Keith Lee. We need to take him off and give him a new look. That was why I was surprised he was cut, because they were going to bring him back with a new look. While he was supposed to be repackaged again, Kross will now wait out his 90-day non-compete clause, with fans hoping to see him pop up in another promotion after. When it comes to the lineup for Survivor Series, WWE has announced a few matches. The Women's Survivor Series match will see Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Zelina Vega. The SmackDown Women's team will be Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Natalya, and Aaliyah. The men's bout will see Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, Sami Zayn, and Happy Corbin. Becky Lynch will be taking on Charlotte Flair, and Roman Reigns is set to face Big E. The partnership of Matt Riddle and Randy Orton has been a consistent highlight on Raw, with them being the tag champions on that brand. With TalkSport, Riddle mentioned working with Orton, saying he feels more people hate him now because of it. No, I think people hate me even more now I'm with Randy. This son of a bitch thinks he's untouchable now. I try to tell Vince and other people, it's part of my persona, it's part of what makes me popular. I'm legit, I've fought in the UFC, anyone can test me anytime. Everybody here knows I can throw down and I'm going to trash talk. It's one of those things where I can't change that. I talk trash. For me, isn't that my job? Make people care about what we're doing and talk trash so people say, oh man, I'd watch that fight, or is it real? Kevin Owens has recently returned to being a heel on Raw, but did you know he was supposed to go back to NXT for an extended run? Owens shared the story with TalkSport. Before I did the War Games return, there were concrete plans for me to go back to NXT for an extended period before coming back to the main roster. At the time, Paul Heyman was in charge on Raw, and those were just plans we had, and Vince had signed off on all of them, and eventually he changed his mind and nothing happened. And that's all it comes down to. What he says goes. It wasn't something I just floated about. It was a plan that was going to happen, and they just went in a different direction. Of course, Owens will see his WWE contract expire at the end of January, with him expected to join his friends in AEW. Despite 18 wrestlers losing their jobs with WWE, it was noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that a few requested to be let go. Zeta Ramir, I think she left on her own. Didn't she leave on her own? I think that was her choice, because they weren't doing anything with her anyway. There were a couple of people, Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik, who asked for their release, and I think she did as well. I'm not sure of her, but I know about the other two. They weren't granted their release, but since they were doing cuts, they released them. In the wake of Jon Moxley being admitted to rehab, Eddie Kingston has been opening up on his own struggles with mental health and addiction. He wrote a piece for the Players Tribune where he wrote, "And that's why I'm telling the story, and I'm not pulling any punches. And all the old school guys who don't want to hear this stuff and think that we shouldn't talk about it, those guys can respectfully kiss my ass. If I wasn't on Zoloft, if I wasn't getting help from my mental health, if I was too afraid to talk about this stuff, I'd end up killing myself, period. I've lost too many friends in this business to shut my mouth and bury all of these emotions with pills and booze." Eddie also pointed out how he was struggling with anxiety at the All Out pay-per-view. "I still have my struggles, I still have a hard time accepting all this love and attention, I still have to take my Zoloft, I still have panic attacks. As a matter of fact, I had one right after I fought Miro at the All Out pay-per-view. My phone started blowing up with all these people telling me great job, just showing me love, and I just couldn't handle it. I got overwhelmed, my chest got tight, the walls started closing in, I started to go numb. It felt like I was breathing through a straw, but I was able to calm myself down and slow my breathing because I'd been strong strong enough to reach out and get professional help. And I know what to do now. I know how to live with my anxiety and depression, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. I don't care what the old school guys in the business have to say about it. It ain't 1987 no more. I know that I am not fixed. I am not perfect. I still have some really dark days, to be honest with you. But when I wake up in the morning, no matter how bad I feel, I know one thing for sure, and I'm damn proud of it. Kingston is set to face CM Punk at the upcoming pay-per-view on the 13th, as we'll have to see what's next for him after that match. Following up on previous reports, it was noted that WWE was considering releasing a couple handfuls of wrestlers on NXT. While they did not get cut this time around, Dave Meltzer would note. I should also mention that there were, out of all the people who were cut, there were 10 others that were in strong discussions of being cut. Pretty much everyone who was not being used well, was on the bubble and they were considering cutting. I'm gonna guess when I saw the list of people who were looking to be cut but were not, there is a chance of them being cut. Essentially, everyone on NXT that's a veteran that you don't see on TV, all of those guys. Again, they're trying to get younger. Being a 6-time world champion, Booker T has done it all in the wrestling world. Despite having a ton of success in his career, there were some issues early on, as he detailed how he nearly got into a fight with William Regal on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast. The first time I met Regal, we almost got into a fight. I'll tell you, I remember it so vividly. It was at the main event gym. Sting and Lex Luger at a gym in Marietta. My brother and I walk in with Sid Vicious, and Regal was walking out the door. I looked at Regal and he looked at me, and it looked like we wanted to kill each other. From that point on, we really didn't have a great relationship or anything. We weren't friends. We weren't pals, buddies, or anything like that. Then all of a sudden I'm King Booker and we're working together. And we had one of the greatest runs ever as far as King of the Ring goes. He's a good friend of mine now. But that's what it was. It was different back then from the way it is now. We weren't friends or anything like that back then. We were in competition. We were trying to be the best wrestler on the card. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.